All right, buckle up, everybody, because today we are diving deep into something pretty wild.
Wild is right.
We're talking about homomorphic encryption.
Have you ever heard of that?
It's basically,
I mean, most people probably haven't.
it's this crazy idea, right? Like doing math,
It's mind-bending, for sure.
but on secrets.
Yeah, exactly.
So like, imagine being able to process data
Yeah,
without ever actually seeing what that data is.
that's the gist of it.
It's a total head scratcher.
Yeah.
But it has massive implications for like everything.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially when it comes to data privacy
Hmm.
and things like artificial intelligence, right?
Oh, for sure. Huge implications.
And luckily for us, we've got this really cool research paper all about it.
Very cool paper.
It's called Secure Semantic Communication.
Catchy title. Right.
And it's diving into how this whole homomorphic encryption thing
Yeah,
could literally change everything.
it really could.
But before we get carried away, let's take a step back
Okay, sure.
and make sure everyone is on the same page.
Good idea.
What exactly is homomorphic encryption?
Okay, so you know about regular encryption, right?
The kind where you scramble data to keep it secret,
Yeah, you scramble it up, make it unreadable.
like putting it in a lockbox.
Yeah, exactly like that.
And only the person with the key can unlock it and see what's inside.
Perfect analogy.
So where does homomorphic encryption fit into all of this?
Well, homomorphic encryption, it's like
Yeah.
you're doing stuff to that locked box without actually opening it.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
You're telling me I can perform calculations
Uh-huh.
on data that's been completely scrambled?
You got it. You don't need to see the data itself to work with it.
My brain is officially broken.
I know, it's a wild concept.
How is that even possible? Like, what kind of sorcery is this?
It's not magic, I promise, although it kind of feels like it.
Okay.
It's all about some pretty high-level math.
Oh, here comes the math.
But let me try to explain it simply.
Okay. I am all ears.
So imagine you have a box of apples, right?
Okay. I like apples.
And you want to know how many are in there,
Sure.
but you can't open the box.
All right. This is getting interesting.
Now imagine you could add another box of apples to that first box without ever looking inside either one of them.
Hmm.
That's kind of what homomorphic encryption does.
It lets you do stuff to the data without actually seeing the data.
Exactly. You're performing operations like addition or multiplication
Right.
on the encrypted data without ever needing to decrypt it.
So it's like adding those boxes of apples together,
Yeah,
but instead of apples, it's data.
precise.
And the boxes are the encryption.
You got it.
And the crazy part is the result you get, it's still encrypted, but it's accurate.
Exactly. The result reflects the operation you performed, even though the data itself remained hidden.
Okay, my mind is officially blown.
It's pretty amazing, right?
So you're telling me I can add, subtract, multiply, like all sorts of math operations
Pretty much, yeah.
on data that's still locked away under that encryption,
That's the beauty of it, and it opens up so many possibilities.
especially for sensitive information.
Oh, absolutely. This is a game changer for privacy.
Okay, let's slow down for a second.
Sure.
I need a real-world example.
Okay.
Let's say I'm storing my medical records in the cloud, right?
Okay, good example.
How does this homomorphic encryption keep my records private
Yeah.
while still letting, say, my doctor analyze them?
Okay, great question.
Because normally they'd need to see my actual data, right?
Right. Traditionally, they would.
And that's where the privacy concerns come in.
Exactly.
But with homomorphic encryption, those records are encrypted before they even go to the cloud.
That's right.
So the doctor can run their analysis on the encrypted data
Yeah, they can use special algorithms to work with the encrypted data.
without ever actually decrypting it.
Exactly. They get the results they need.
So they can see the insights from
Yeah.
the analysis.
Right, but they never actually see your raw data.
Wow, so the cloud provider doesn't see it, the doctor doesn't see it.
Nope, no one sees it.
But the analysis can still happen.
It can, and it's accurate.
That's pretty amazing.
It is.
I mean, the applications go way beyond healthcare, right?
Oh, absolutely. Think finance, think research.
Like financial institutions could use it to detect fraud
Yeah.
without exposing sensitive financial details.
Exactly.
Or researchers could collaborate on studies using data from all these different sources,
Right.
but still protect the privacy of the individual participants.
That's right. The possibilities are pretty much endless.
Okay, so hold on. I could be part of a research study,
Yes,
and they could be using my data without even knowing it's mine.
that's right. That's the power of it.
That's some next-level privacy protection right there.
It really is.
This homomorphic encryption thing, it's got the potential to seriously revolutionize
Oh, yeah.
how we handle all this sensitive information.
Absolutely, especially in a world that's becoming more data-driven every day.
Okay, before we get too far ahead of ourselves,
Sure.
I think we need to take a breath
That
and just kind of clarify a few things for our listeners.
sounds good.
We keep throwing around this term homomorphic encryption,
Right.
but are there different types?
Yeah.
And what are the limitations of this technology?
Good question.
And how far away are we from actually seeing it used in the real world?
All excellent questions.
Because let's be real, this all sounds pretty futuristic.
It does, but it's closer than you might think.
So let's break it all down, shall we?
Let's do it.
Welcome back, everyone. Before we went away, we were trying to get our heads around this whole homomorphic encryption thing.
Yeah, it's a lot to process.
It is, but it's pretty exciting stuff.
Oh, absolutely. The potential is huge.
So you mentioned before that there are actually different types of homomorphic encryption.
Right.
Can we dive into that a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. It's a good way to understand the different levels of complexity.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Okay, so imagine we have, like, 3 levels of encryption,
Right.
basic, intermediate, and advanced.
Like a video game.
Exactly.
Okay, so what's the basic level all about?
Well, with basic homomorphic encryption, you can only perform one type of operation on the encrypted data.
Okay, so like just addition
Yeah.
or just multiplication.
Exactly. So it's kind of limited in what it can do.
Makes sense.
Then you've got intermediate homomorphic encryption.
Okay, what can you do at that level?
That lets you do a few more operations,
Right.
but there are still restrictions.
So it's like having more tools in your toolbox, but you still can't build everything.
Perfect analogy.
And then there's the advanced level.
Uh-huh.
That's where things get really interesting, right?
Exactly. That's fully homomorphic encryption. That's like the holy
The
grail.
holy grail of encryption, huh?
Yeah, because it would allow you to perform any computation on encrypted data,
Oh, wow.
just as if you were working with the raw data itself.
No limitations.
Exactly. It's like having a master key that unlocks everything.
So are we there yet? Is fully homomorphic encryption a reality?
Not quite yet, unfortunately.
Dang.
It's still a very active area of research.
But it's something that researchers are working towards.
Absolutely. It's the ultimate goal in this field.
So even though we're not at the holy grail level yet, even that basic level, that partially homomorphic encryption,
Yes.
it can still be super useful, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There are tons of applications, even with those limitations.
Okay, good to know. So even with those limitations, this tech has the potential to really change the game when it comes to data privacy.
Absolutely.
But what about security?
Good question.
How do we know that this stuff is really secure?
That's a crucial question.
Right, because if someone can crack the encryption, then it defeats the whole purpose, doesn't it?
Exactly. But the good news is the security of homomorphic encryption is based on some really tough math problems.
Okay.
Problems that are believed to be very hard.
Like even for supercomputers.
Yeah, even for the most powerful computers out there.
So basically, it would take years, maybe even centuries, to crack the code.
It's possible, yeah. And as computers get more powerful, the complexity of those math problems can be increased.
So it's like a constantly evolving arms race.
That's one way to think about it.
Okay, well, that's somewhat reassuring, I guess.
Yeah, it's designed to stay ahead of the curve.
But even with all these security measures in place, there's always the human element to consider, right?
That's true.
What about the potential for misuse?
That's a valid concern with any powerful technology.
Right, it's like a tool, right? It can be used for good or for bad.
Exactly. So it's crucial to have ethical guidelines and regulations in place.
To make sure it's being used responsibly.
Precisely.
Okay, so we've talked about the different types of homomorphic encryption.
Yes.
We've talked about the security aspects
Mhm.
and the importance of having some ethical boundaries.
It's all connected.
But let's bring it back to our listeners for a second.
Okay.
How might this technology actually impact their daily lives?
That's a great question.
It's because it all sounds pretty abstract, right?
It does, yeah.
So give me a concrete example. How could this make a difference in someone's life?
Okay, so imagine a world where you can get all the benefits of personalized services.
Okay, I like the sound of that.
But you don't have to hand over your personal data to get them.
Wow, that would be amazing.
Right. So, let's say you want personalized financial advice.
Okay.
With homomorphic encryption, a financial advisor could analyze your financial data,
Right.
but they wouldn't actually see your income or spending habits.
They could give me advice without knowing all my secrets,
Exactly. They get the insights they need to help you.
but my data stays private.
Exactly. It's like having your cake and eating it too.
Okay, I'm liking this future.
And it goes beyond finance, right? Think about healthcare.
Like getting a diagnosis without having to worry about my medical history being exposed.
Exactly. Or maybe you're participating in a research study.
Right.
They can use your data to find new cures and treatments.
But they don't know who I am.
Precisely. It's a game changer for privacy and for progress.
And what about voting? You mentioned secure voting systems earlier.
Yes. Imagine a world where your vote is completely private and secure.
No more hanging chads or voter fraud.
Exactly. It would revolutionize the way we conduct elections.
Okay, so it sounds like the possibilities are pretty much endless.
They really are. We're just scratching the surface.
But you said earlier that fully homomorphic encryption is still a ways off.
Yeah.
So how long until we see some of these amazing applications in the real world?
It's hard to say for sure. It depends on a lot of factors.
Like what?
Research breakthroughs, advancements in computing power, and the development of industry standards.
That's a lot of moving parts.
It is, but I think it's safe to say we'll start seeing more and more real-world applications emerging in the next few years.
So it's not just a pipe dream anymore. This stuff is actually starting to happen.
It is. We're already seeing early examples of it being used in finance and healthcare.
That's pretty exciting.
It is. It's a sign of things to come.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about what homomorphic encryption is, the different types, the security aspects, and all the potential applications.
It's a big topic.
It is. But there's one crucial aspect we haven't really touched on yet.
Right.
The challenges that stand in the way of widespread adoption.
The roadblocks.
Exactly. What are the hurdles we need to overcome to make this technology a reality for everyone?
That's a great question, and it's something we need to address.
Because every new technology has its growing pains, right?
Absolutely. And homomorphic encryption is no exception.
Okay, so let's get real about the challenges then.
Let's do it.
Okay, so we're back.
Back for more on homomorphic encryption.
And we've talked about how amazing it could be for keeping our data private.
Right.
But like with any new tech, there are always challenges.
Always, yeah. It's never a perfect solution right out of the gate.
So let's talk about the hurdles.
Okay.
What are the biggest challenges facing homomorphic encryption right now?
Well, I think one of the biggest ones is computational overhead.
You mentioned that earlier, I remember.
Yeah.
But can you break that down for us a little?
Sure.
Like, what does that actually mean?
It means that performing calculations on encrypted data,
Yeah.
it takes a lot more power and time
Oh, okay.
compared to working with regular unencrypted data.
So it's kind of like it's a resource hog.
Yeah, you could say that.
And that doesn't sound very practical, does it?
Not really, no.
Especially for complex computations.
Right, and that's a big reason why fully homomorphic encryption...
That holy grail we talked about.
Oh, exactly.
It's still a ways off.
Yeah, the computational demands are just too high right now.
Okay, so efficiency is a major roadblock.
Yes, yeah.
Got it. So what else? What other challenges are we facing?
Another big one is the lack of standardization.
What do you mean by that?
Well, right now, there are all these different homomorphic encryption schemes out there,
Oh, okay.
each with their own quirks and complexities.
So it's kind of like a free-for-all?
Kind of, yeah. There's no one agreed upon standard yet.
And why is that a problem?
Well, it makes it hard for different systems and organizations to communicate securely using homomorphic encryption.
Oh, I see.
It's like trying to fit puzzle pieces from different sets together.
Right, they don't quite match up.
Exactly.
So basically, we need some kind of universal language for homomorphic encryption.
We do, yeah.
A set of rules that everyone can agree on.
Exactly.
So that things work together smoothly.
Right, it would make things a lot easier.
Okay, so we've got computational overhead, we've got lack of standardization.
Yeah.
Anything else? Any other big challenges?
Well, there's one more that's really important.
Okay.
And that's awareness and education.
You mean people just don't know enough about homomorphic encryption?
Like, that's a big part of it, yeah.
Because it is pretty complex.
It is.
And there's a lot of technical jargon involved.
Right, and a lot of people, even people in tech, aren't really familiar with it yet.
So we need to get the word out.
We do, yeah.
Spread the gospel of homomorphic encryption.
We need to educate developers, policymakers, and the general public.
Show them why it matters.
Exactly, because until people understand it, they're not going to demand it.
It's a bit of a chicken and egg situation, isn't it?
It is, yeah, but that's where collaboration comes in.
We need everyone working together.
Researchers, industry leaders, policymakers, everyone.
To push this technology forward.
Exactly. It's a team effort.
Okay, so let's say we manage to overcome all these challenges.
Okay.
What does a future powered by homomorphic encryption actually look like?
It's a future where you have complete control over your data.
Okay, I like that.
You can choose to share specific insights with whoever you want.
But you never have to reveal your raw data.
That's right.
It's like having this super fine-grained filter for your data
That's a great way to put it.
where you control exactly what gets through and what doesn't.
Exactly.
And we can do all this while still enjoying the benefits of data analysis and AI.
Right. It's not about stopping progress.
It's about making sure that progress happens in a way that respects privacy.
That's exactly it.
So we can have personalized medicine. We can have targeted advertising that's not creepy.
Right.
We can have secure voting systems.
All of that and more.
It sounds almost too good to be true.
It does, but it's a future worth striving for.
But of course, we can't ignore the potential downsides.
Of course not.
What about the ethical implications of all this?
That's a really important question.
If we can analyze data without seeing it, how do we ensure transparency?
Right.
How do we prevent misuse?
Those are questions we need to grapple with.
Because even with the best of intentions, things can go wrong.
They can, yeah.
And we need to be prepared for that.
Absolutely.
So where do we go from here?
Well, I think the most important thing is to stay informed.
Keep learning about this technology.
Yeah, read articles, listen to podcasts like this one.
Talk to people about it.
Exactly.
And don't be afraid to ask tough questions.
You're right, because this is a conversation that affects everyone.
And it's a conversation that's just getting started.
It is, and the more people who are involved, the better.
Because ultimately, the future of homomorphic encryption is in our hands.
It is, and it's a future worth fighting for.
Well said. And on that note, I think we'll wrap up this deep dive.
Sounds good.
We've covered a lot of ground today, from the basics of homomorphic encryption
Yeah.
to its potential applications, the challenges we face, and the ethical considerations.
It's been a great discussion.
And I hope our listeners found it insightful and thought-provoking.
I hope so too.
This is a topic that's going to become increasingly important in the years to come.
Absolutely.
So stay curious, stay engaged, and keep those questions coming.
And as always, thanks for listening.
Until next time.